What's going on, everyone? It's Richard Dickson here, and welcome to another episode of my creatively self-named podcast, the Richard Dickson Podcast. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Music, or Apple Podcast, please feel free to, I'm speaking like an absolute idiot already, follow the podcast on those platforms, or if you are watching it in a video and audio format on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe as well. It would be greatly appreciated. There's a lot of time and thinking and energy that goes into these podcast style videos, and unfortunately, I have to be realistic, they are my least popular form of video. Probably something to do with the length of them. It's a little bit longer than what we normally do, so generally you're going to get less people involved in that style of content, and probably because it's less engaging, it's just me sitting here and talking. We're back in my own office today. We actually try not to do it in here because it's pretty boring, right? My own office is actually really boring. The backdrop's pretty crap and stuff, but we've got an event on in the main space. We've got people in every office room today, dead busy, so we've had to just stick with the individual little office today. I'm so warm, I can't believe how hot it is. I'm actually going to turn this up and hopefully it doesn't mess up the audio that's coming through on the microphone just now. So today I'm going to talk about a slightly different topic. I don't think I've really spoken on it very often before, and it's the process and the logic behind proving people wrong. And within that, we're going to be discussing disappointing people, letting people down in their estimations, and what it actually means to prove people wrong. And I'm not talking about proving random fake accounts on the internet wrong and stuff like that. I'm talking about proving friends wrong, family wrong, partners wrong. This is the type of stuff that I'm talking about. Like close, tight-knit relationships is really what we're speaking on today. As always, this content is geared towards business owners and entrepreneurs and people out there either making it work or trying to make it work inside of the business and organization. But you can apply this to any aspect of your life, whether it be education, athleticism, and you know, a sporting career, whatever it may be. This stuff is applicable. You need to change some of the language as and when you listen. So for all of us, our families and, you know, parents, guardians, grandparents, whoever you are raised by, looked after by, they all have expectations set for us. Sometimes, depending on especially cultural background, I grew up in a very multicultural area in Pollokshields, so I got to see firsthand how different cultures and races deal with expectations for their children, all the way through to very extreme, really harsh cultures that are like, must be all A's and exams, you must be a doctor, you must be doing this, you must be doing that, through to people who are a bit more, you know, free will, do what it is you want to do, find out what it is you want to do and go and pursue it. I got to see the full kind of spectrum, and when there are expectations set by anyone, there is always a chance for disappointment. And disappointment is natural, it's going to happen to everyone. You will disappoint people throughout your life very consistently. But when it comes to parents and career and education and stuff like that, it's not a nice thing to disappoint people. But I think I see way too many people completely diverting and changing their whole life plans on the basis that they don't want to disappoint a parent or a grandparent or something like that. I'll tell you a quick story about when I was in school, and we were in fourth year or potentially the end of fifth year. I didn't stay for my 6th year of school. Depending on which country you're in, this might not really make sense, but I had 1 year left of high school that I decided not to do, and I went to college instead. And I can't remember whether it was 4th or 5th year, but we had, you know, like your careers day in school, a careers advisor comes in. And for anyone who went to Bellhouston Academy, or maybe some of the surrounding schools, I'm not quite sure, you might remember Mr. Hamilton, who sadly passed away a few years ago, but Mr. Hamilton was our careers advisor at Bellhouston, and I remember speaking to him and not having a single clue what it was I wanted to do, you know, just, and my parents were very much pick something you want to do, no pressure to go to university, no pressure to go to college, leave and get a job, and I'd done lots of extra work experience and stuff during school, so I was trying to find what it is I wanted to do, basically. So my mum and dad weren't really on my back with stuff like that, and I'm talking to Mr. Hamill, and I'm like, yeah, not sure what I want to do. Are you doing your UCAS for university applications? No. And that was it. We kind of went back and forward. Another boy in my class who will remain nameless, his exam results the previous year hadn't been too great. They'd been fine, but they hadn't been too great. I remember seeing this boy talking to Mr. Hamilton. It was in the library in Bellowson Academy, if any of you remember it. Like, that's what it was. It was in the library. I remember this boy speaking to Mr. Hamilton and sitting down, and Mr. Hamilton's like, what is it you want to do? And he's like, oh, I want to study medicine. I want to be a doctor. And Mr. Hamilton kind of being like, looking at him as if like, are you taking the piss out of me? And he's like, look, person, your exam results aren't good enough for you to pick the subjects to then get the right qualifications to then even be able to apply for that. Like, it's not really something that's looking like it's on the table just now. And this guy just absolutely breaking his heart. So upset, and I'm thinking, wow, he must really want to be a doctor. It was fear of disappointment from his parents. My brother's studying medicine, my sister's studying to be a optometrist, something. Please, like, I need to find a way to do this. My mum and dad will never forgive me. That's expectations and pressure in a much harsher way. Now, I personally don't feel like I've ever chronically let my parents down in terms of career choices and what it is I wanted to do. I don't feel like I've really done that myself. But I know so many young people, older people as well, probably maybe pressure from wives or husbands, but so many young people that have came to different events of mine and been like, Richard, I would love to start a business, I would love to do this and that. I'm not sure what my parents might think of me. And that's the thing that holds them back from doing stuff. Hormozy has a great story about this, with his dad, and his dad was a doctor and having to, solely disappoint him. But at the end of the day, sometimes you need to kill someone else's dream for you to be able to live your own dream. What your parents want for you is ultimately comfort at the end of the day, or your guardians or whatever it may be. They want comfort. So regardless of the job, the degree, the lack of degree, whatever, parents at their core want you to be comfortable. They want you to be fed, watered, sheltered, healthy. Don't really care too much about materialistic things on the face of it. It's just natural parenting that is what they want for their children, right? And you will have these different ideas for your life, whether you're watching this and you're in school just now, whether you're watching this and you're an adult thinking about a career change, you're going to be at different points in your life. And by the way, what it is you want to do with your life always changes, right? You're never, the path you set at 15, 16 is probably never going to be the path that you actually follow in your life, right? That's me just being realistic. So you will have this plan for your own life, and at 99.9% of the time does not have any confluence with the plan that your parents have for you. Your parents have this plan here, they want you to go and do, and yours is sometimes the exact opposite or not on a similar trajectory whatsoever. Here's the reality. Biologically, you should outlive your parents. You should outlive your parents by the majority of your life. Statistically, for most people, right? So people having kids older now and stuff like that. So realistically, you should have over half of your life without your parents, both parents or one parent, right? It is very, very illogical for you to base your lifetime's work and achievements off of your parents' expectations of you. If you've watched anything that I talk about previously in videos, I don't believe that work is meant to be fun. right? A job is not meant to be fun. Oh, I just want a job that makes me happy. There is 99.9% chance that there's not a job out there that makes you happy. That's just the facts. Every job is going to have stress and pressure, deadlines. It's all going to be this stuff. It's very unlikely that you're going to find this job that's like, wow, I'm so happy. You might enjoy parts of the job. You might enjoy perks and benefits. You might enjoy the salary that you get. This here does not mean that you're happy with the job. So if you're one of these people just now that's thinking, oh yeah, I don't know what to do, I just want to swap careers to do something that makes me happy, the likelihood is that thing doesn't exist, right? Like, I follow this account on YouTube that's funny interactions between employers and employees when people are leaving jobs, and the amount of time that employers are like, oh, you were only here for the money. Of course I was only here for the money. Why else do you think I was here? To build your dream? No, I was here for the money. I was here to get paid. So if someone else is paying me better, I'm going to leave. It's that simple, right? So I think that it's not intelligent for you to build your life around what your parents want you to do when realistically they're not going to be here for the majority of that life. And ultimately, it will go against their real goal as parents, which is obviously to set you up for life and stuff like that, but also to raise a happy, content child. Content's probably a better word. Someone who's content, who is doing what they want to do in the world and have their own autonomy. Now, saying that something is illogical or not intelligent doesn't really change the emotions involved with that. Loads of people fight very, very hard about stuff like this with themselves. You know, they're fighting internally, thinking what is the right thing to do, what's the wrong thing to do, because realistically nobody wants to disappoint their parents. Nobody wants to do it, right? But at the same time, you don't want to sign yourself up for a life that you don't want to live. And ultimately, everything in your life, if that's what you choose to do, is, oh, I don't want to study this subject for 6 years because my mum and dad are desperate for me to be that guy. Well, the reality is that going and doing that and having those 6 or 7 years of suffering doing something you don't want to do and maintaining the standards and all that stuff, that is going to have a knock-on effect in every single aspect of your life. It's going to affect your relationships. It's going to affect your marriage. It will affect your ability to parent. It will affect your social skills. And it will also drastically affect the relationship you have with your parents. And I've seen this happen so many times. That's the relationship that gets hit the most. It's very easy to get angry at them for you doing that thing. Now, everyone's going to have their own opinions on this stuff. You might need to think about it for 20 minutes and go and tell your parents, actually, you know what? I'm not doing what you want me to do. You might need to think about it for 2 or 3 years. Or you might think about it and never action anything at all. And live the life that your mum and dad want you to live. I often hear this a lot from people who have been privately educated. And they're like, oh, my parents spent £15,000 per year on my education and need to pay them back somehow. It's like, oh, paying them back is going and doing a university degree or a vocational apprenticeship, whatever it may be, that you didn't want to do. That's paying them back. Also, they chose to privately educate you, which you didn't ask for, and now you have to pay them back by doing yet another thing you didn't ask to do. Okay, doesn't really add up and make sense, but fine. Now, the thing with disappointing people is, like I already said, that everyone's going to approach it a different way. Some people never do it. Some people do it quickly. Some people take time to think about it. But the disappointment isn't the core thing that we're thinking right here, because, by the way, my logic around disappointing in terms of this conversation that we're having just now is we are disappointing someone in order to achieve highly in something else that they don't particularly want us to do, or they don't consider as a valid career option, or something like that. Oh, sorry guys, I was tired. It's a blooming afternoon. Haven't had any coffee. I'm on a caffeine pulse just now, so I'm pretty sleepy. we're looking to achieve greatness in another aspect of human endeavour, right? So if you're watching this and you're like, yeah, I don't want to go to university because I want to sit at home all day, have my parents pay my way in life, play my PlayStation, eat shit, not achieve anything, and I should be able to do that, because why should I have to go to university? Because that's what my parents want to do. That's not what I'm talking about. You should get sent to the British Army, right? You should get your bag packed up and sent to the army. That type of attitude is why I still think there's an argument for national service, but that's a conversation for another day, right? But don't use this as an excuse for, yeah, I don't want to achieve anything, I just want to sit about. And you can lie and dress it up however you want. I need some time to think, I need a gap year, I need to do this, I need to do that. You don't need any of that stuff, right? You don't. You're lying to yourself. You don't need a gap year, you don't need time off, you don't need to sit and think, you don't need a couple of weeks to ponder. None of that's true, right? You're just lying to yourself, you're bullshitting. So don't use this video as an excuse to be a low achiever, waster, useless person. If you're in this video and you're thinking, yeah, Richard, just speaking my language, I don't want to do anything, I want to just have an easy life, or I never asked to be born, all that kind of crying, whinging nonsense, right? Not listening to any of that, and you're not who this video was designed for. Shut it down, or this podcast, sorry, shut it down and go away to Reddit or whatever the hell you spend your time, right? We need to cure disappointment by proving people wrong, right? And I'm going to give you some examples of how I have tried to prove people wrong, and how I have tried to fight my corner, and how I've tried to stand up for myself and done it wrong so many times, and how there is only one way to prove people wrong and to potentially decrease or cure or completely remove and reverse that feeling of disappointment, right? Now, when you start a business or you go and do something that isn't quite a traditional path, or isn't the path which has been laid out for you by someone else, it's often met with a lot of questions and objections. Are you sure this is a good idea? Are you sure you're able to do that? What information have you got on this thing? And blah, blah, blah. And we can often end up in back and forth situations of dialogue with people, which I don't actually think is a net positive for us. When I started my first ever business, and the business I was in was a very well-known industry, but a very non-traditional way of doing it, and I would be trying to explain to people what it is I do, to justify it for myself, and to try and help them understand. So people would come to me and say, family, friends, or maybe, oh, so you're telling me that you can do XYZ with XYZ, there's no way you can do that. And I'd be like, hey, but look, if I do this and I do that, and then I do this, and then I speak to this person, then I move that, and then blah, 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 do you see how it works? It would never win anyone over. I would spend so much time, effort, resources, energy trying to explain to people exactly what it is I do. And here's how it works, and here's how we're able to do this, and here's how we monetize that part, and this is how we do this, and this is how we do that. And I was always fighting my corner. Loads of people thought that the business that I was involved in, you know, trading and deal sourcing residential property, they thought that the way I was doing it was like illegal or something potentially, or like a loophole, or how is it you're able to do that? Like they just automatically came with a lens of, is it fraudulent, or is it like a little bit dodgy, is it frowned upon? That's the attitude I often got. And because I knew that wasn't the case, I was trying to fight it. I'd be like, no, because I do this and I do that and then I do this. And you'd always have one smart-ass person, or like someone at, you know, a family dinner, oh, you can't do that, and I know you can't do that because my friend done this, that, the next thing, right? I often have this discussion with people, you know, they say to me, no, that's not possible, you're not able to do that. Okay, so how many properties have you bought? Or what's the size of your portfolio? What's this or what's that? Oh, well, zero. It's just, I know you can't do that because my mate's uncles, brothers, cousins, sister said so. Oh, that's really easy to do that. You just buy a property at auction, do it up and sell it. Yeah, that does sound really easy. How many times is it you've done that again? Oh, well, none, but I just know that it's easy. All right, okay, yeah, no problem. So you're just guessing because you're an absolute imbecile and you don't have a clue what you're talking about. So I would constantly, to friends, family, connections, contacts, people online, like, you know, people have on social media, I'll constantly be fighting my corner, trying to prove them wrong. They've already came with a predisposed idea of what it is I do. their narrative is solidified. It is very unlikely and a massive waste of energy trying to convince them otherwise of what it is that they believe in you. Because you can speak all day, you can talk all day, you can give them facts, figures, whatever it may be, but it's likely that they are never going to change what they think about you, especially at the start. Because realistically, when you look at it, what have you achieved? What have you got? Have you made any money? Have you achieved it? Has your life changed at all? Have you? No. So you're in this, stuck in this middle ground of, you're trying to make your business happen and you're motivated and you're excited, but people you love and care about and whose opinions you respect are, because of their love of you, putting you down and dragging you down and making you believe that your dreams aren't possible and the industry you want to be in isn't what you think it is, and you're dodging between those two, and you're trying to emotionally manage yourself and emotionally manage them in terms of what they think of you and the fact they're disappointed. Oh, you could have been really good if you just stuck in it, XYZ, or why are you giving up? I got this all the time because I gave up. I was a qualified electrician. You can make good money doing that, and went into business. You're giving up a good job, Richard. That's a good job. That's a job for life. Believe it or not, that's the reason why I wanted to leave. I didn't want a job for life. I don't want a job ever again in my life, right? But that's just, it's a job for life, Richard. You know, you should be happy with that. Like, it's, you would never be hungry. You'd never want for money. I wanted to achieve something that wasn't average, and I'm still trying to do that now. That's still what I'm trying to do. Now, I would argue with people, and I would make videos, like full-length YouTube videos. You won't find them on here now because I archived a lot of my old YouTube content, but I'll be explaining what is property deal sourcing, and what is this and what is that, and how is it I make money inside my business. And I've been making these videos to try and explain to people, right? Try and show them what it is I'm doing. And the thing is, it's very stupid of us when we start a business, say you're doing e-com or whatever it may be, to take a business model that we've learned about, and maybe we've paid to learn about that, I've had some mentorship or whatever, and, you know, we've not long known about it, and you get excited because you want to talk about your first business, your next business. And we take that thing that we've only just learned about, or we've been learning about for the last little while, and we talk about it to people who have no idea what it is, who have never done it, and we expect a positive reception. Oh, think about this if you're coming from your parents' perspective who have none of this, like, knowledge. Oh, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy this domain, then I've got this supplier who, you know, sells, let's make something up, sells label printers. I can see one in the corner. I know there's a gap for label printers just now, so what people do is they come onto my site and then they buy it, but I don't physically need to have the stock. What I do is I get that place, the fulfillment centre, to fulfill the order, and they sell it, and they send it to the person, so I just make the sale and I run Facebook ads and I never have to actually hold any stock. Your parent would be like, what? What the hell are you talking about? Like, that's fake. That's a scam or something. And then you're sitting, you're like, oh shit, is it a scam? Like, oh my goodness, am I doing something that's not right? Let me go. And then you start battling with yourself, right? But you were just excited, wanting to speak to them about what it is you're doing. But it's your fault expecting them to understand something that you want to do when they have no previous experience, no knowledge, no nothing. It's daft of you to think that, right? It's the same way I always think of stuff as like a military command chain now around extended friends and extended family and stuff like that. I just stay very quiet, not to be rude, but people are like, so what is it you're up to with your business just now? Like, what have you got going on? Oh, loads of different stuff. Oh, really? Like what? Go tell me what it is you're up to. Oh, different projects, you know, different things we're focusing on and different services we're providing, events and stuff. So yeah, it's really good. Okay, so what kind of stuff inside of that is you're working on? Have you buying any stuff just now? He's like, yeah, we're always looking at different stuff. Okay, and they're always trying to extract more details out of you, but I'm very passive. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, it's good. Yeah, like that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not serving the ball at them. All I'm doing is returning. That's all I'm trying to do. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to talk about my business to people that don't have an understanding of my business, won't use my business, don't have nothing to add in a positive manner to my business. Not that I think they're going out the way to add something negative, but I'm not going to get any net positive from that conversation. And the world is not going to stop turning because they don't know exactly what it is I'm doing in my business right now. Imagine I start explaining to people, oh yeah, we're implementing these new tracking softwares into all of our different businesses that track literally every single click anyone makes online once they get into any of our marketing campaigns, so I can see exactly what you click on, I can take your email, I can do this. That's all software that we use. They'd be like, oh, that's what, so you can track people around the internet? Well, that's a violation of people's privacy, Richard. Like, you would just get some shite back somehow, right? So you need to be careful of who you speak to and what you speak out there and stuff like that. Look at it like the military command chain. I think I just touched on that a second ago, but never actually finished it. If you're in the army, you speak the problems up the way. You don't go, oh, I'm looking from my lookout position. I see, 15 tanks and however many 4x4s coming towards us filled with enemies. You don't turn to your mate beside you in the bunk and go, oh mate, look, enemies there. No, you go and ring a bloody alarm and it gets passed to the general or whatever. I'm not aware of the ranking system of the army, but it goes to someone who is far more senior, who can action retaliation and defense and planning for that situation. That's what happens, right? So why are you speaking sideways or potentially even down? I'm not saying speaking down because these people, below you. That's not what I'm saying. But just in terms of what it is you're trying to achieve and what it is you're doing with your life, they won't understand it. They're focused on their career and stuff like that. So, and talking about career and working their way up the ladder, they might be here, you might be way down. But talking about business, yeah, it just swaps about, right? So there is one way, and this is it. There is literally one way on God's green earth to prove someone wrong, and the only way to do it is results. You can say what you want. You can say this is a great business model, I'm really motivated, I'm going to go and do this and all that kind of stuff. But until people can physically see the result and the fruits of that labour, no one is going to take it seriously. No one is going to respect that decision. They will still be disappointed and think you've flung away your career, or you've not honoured your mother and father by not going to the university they wanted to, or not going and doing the course that they wanted to. The only way you can do it is prove them wrong. I would talk to my mum and dad when I first started my business, dead excited, like the exact situation I'm talking about there. And my mum and dad, like, not homeowners or anything, so like, how can I expect them to understand a property buying and selling business? They'll understand. My dad's obviously knows a lot about construction, so there's aspects of that transaction and that process of buying and renovating a property my dad would understand, but the whole gist of the business they wouldn't understand. And I would be saying to them, yeah, so what I'm going to do is I've got this investor there who's going to give me £100,000. They'd be like, someone's going to give you what? I'd be like, someone's going to give me £100,000 so we can do this. And they'd be like, whoa, are you sure that that's a good idea? Because that to them just seems like £100,000 of debt, which by the way it is, but it's leverage debt to go and do something with. But to them, the thought of that was just terrifying. So then I would go into my room and I would think, not because they tried to make me think like this, I'd be like, oh, is that a good idea? Like, am I maybe going a bit too big at the start? Like, am I making a mistake here? And then after an hour or so of thinking about that, I would move on, right? Now, I would be talking about that and going doing my business, and I realised to quite quickly just to be quiet, right? And that's what I started doing. I just started being quiet. And I'm working for months and months and months, and I'm starting to get some money and some deals rolling in, a semi-consistent income, and I was able to buy my mum and dad a holiday for the first time, and that's something I do very regularly now. It's generally what they always get at Christmas or whatever. I bought my mum and dad a holiday, and I came and said to them, like, hey, I've got your holiday, and also I'm still living at home, and I don't think I've had a huge lifestyle increase at that point. But I've been like, yeah, I bought your holiday, and my mum and dad were like, what? I was like, yeah, and they were like, how? I was like, with my money. Money from what? My business? Really? Yeah. Oh my goodness. And at that moment, my business became real. It was no longer me talking to them and trying to explain something to them. It was no longer me trying to help them understand that my business was legitimate and real. And I don't think I disappointed them, although my dad was angry when I quit my job. I quit my job and my dad was angry because we always had an unwritten agreement I was going to stay with him after my apprenticeship for 2 years and stuff like that. And, you know, I could have went and started a business and totally failed. My dad would have never been on my back, but I felt like I owed it to him to go and do well, to say, hey, I know I didn't help you with that business, and I know we didn't grow our Dickson Electrical together or whatever, but here, I've been able to do enough in my life now with my business that it benefits you. You can go on holiday and do this and do that, or whatever it may be. So, but I had to go through that period of time to be able to make the money and take a little bit of the shit, not so much from my parents, but just take a bit of negativity from the people around me because they cared about you, right? And having a business is a big risk. Well, that's how they see it. I think it's a very worthy risk. But I had to go through that period and just think to myself, yep, don't explain, be like a racing horse with blinders on, right? I can't explain to them, I can't try and help them understand, there is no point doing anything of that. The only thing I can do is get to a point where my results are undeniable, where I can do things for people and I have things for myself and I have a nice house and a nice car and or whatever your metric is, you know, however you want to spend your money or save your money or invest your money or buy gifts for people, however that happens, but the results are going to be the only way that I can prove them wrong. And by the way, there's going to be people out there who results is not enough for them. They look at results and they're like, yeah, okay, you have some results, I don't care, I still think you're this, I still think you're that. I reckon that I could make 100 million quid and donate 50 million of it to charity and do all these different other things, and there's so many people who would just be like, yeah, whatever, who cares, you're this or you're that. That's life, right? You're going to be judged, mocked, people are going to think different shit about you. That might be family, friends, people much closer to you than you think. Who knows? That can happen. But sometimes you need to disappoint people and destroy their idea of who you are to be able to actually live for yourself. And you might need to eat shit for a while. You might need to have people on your back for a while. You might need to have people tell you how disappointed they are. You might get kicked out of the house. You might get told you're this and that. You might never get an apology. You might never hear them say they were wrong. And you might not even want that either. But you can either prove it to them or prove it to yourself that you were right and they were wrong through your results. That is the only way to do it. You don't prove someone wrong by starting a business. You don't prove someone wrong by opening a store. You don't prove someone wrong by, you know, the small things that is required to start a business, register it, pay a little bit of money. Like, none of that stuff proves anyone wrong. That's not the brave part. The brave part isn't registering a limited company. The brave part isn't starting a website. The brave part is dealing with clients and making money and handling objections and dealing with stress and all that kind of stuff. That's the hard part. That's when it's difficult, right? So for those of you out there who are stuck thinking, I might need to disappoint someone, the best thing you could do right now is disappoint them. The best thing you can do. It's going to make your life better, and ultimately, if they are who they say they are, and they actually do love you and they do care about you, in 2 years' time, 5 years' time, 6 years' time, will you turn around and you go, actually, look at this now, this thing's became a success and I'm able to do X, Y, and Z. They're going to turn around and go, you know what? Well done. I'm proud of you. You've done the right thing. I didn't see it that way. I was wrong. And some of you might have parents that don't support you in any way. They're not supportive. They're not loving. You've not got anyone there who's backing you. It's even more important for you to break off and do your own thing, regardless of what it is, because you're on your own, ultimately, right? And don't expect an apology. In fact, when you start making money, maybe expect them to run back and be like, hey, can I get a little bit of that? And do you know what you tell them? Peace, right? Not having that. No way. You know, if you're not there for the journey, even if you're there for the journey and you're like, oh, I don't know about this journey, this isn't a great idea, I'm not sure, but you were there and you gave something, you added something, yeah, then you're deserving of getting something. Not like, okay, I've done this, so you 5%, or you 10%, but you know, you're deserving of still being included in that person's success in some regard. But if you're just a leech parent or whatever, you might be a parent watching this, and I'm speaking to you about your own kids just now, but the best thing you can do is disappoint them. Don't live your life for someone else, even if it is your mum, your dad, your grandparents. You can't live your life for them because you're going to have your own kids and you want to set an example for them. There's nothing worse than resentful parents who are angry at their parents for making them do this and they pass it out to their kids. You need to do this and you need to do that. Someone needs to break the chain. And I hope that if you're watching this and this video has spoken to you in a way, that you will be that person. And the only way you can prove them wrong is through results. Thank you very much for watching this episode of the podcast. Feel free to like it, thumb it up, rate it. I don't know what metrics any of these platforms use, but I'm sure one of them will fit in for wherever you're listening or watching. So wherever, Jizo, you're listening or watching this podcast. I've been Richard Dickson. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you guys all next week. Cheers.